you have to spend money to make money. If you want to play in the big leagues, you really have to make the investment for it, because you can stay small, you can play small and stay small by trying to do it alone, right? By trying to patch things together and rig it yourself, but it's not going to get you where you want to go.
Welcome to another amazing episode of Believe Bolder. And you know what I've learned in life, and wouldn't you agree? Okay, having great ideas and being pioneers in the things we're super passionate about is where the excitement lives. But what I've discovered is it's really fun to get excited and create cool things in life. But what fun really is it if nobody knows about it?
Right.
You know what I've discovered in life? It is important to be, activating want, to self-believe in the wants we're creating, but then find a friend in life. Don't do life alone. Find somebody that has the gifts that maybe we haven't crafted. And I'm going to suggest for all of our listeners, for those dreamers out there, whatever your passions are, find somebody to assist you so that the world knows what your passion looks like, and find the stages that you get invited on next. Now, I set all of this up on purpose because I've been so excited. We're in season 1 of Believe Bolder, and we're getting to meet some of my ultimate favorite people in life that have personally affected me on an incredibly high level. I wanted to make sure you met these folks in season 1. Why? Because these people that you're getting to meet, like Marisa today, are people that will change the life trajectory you're on through the passions you love to focus on. It's how I met our guest today. Marisa is an incredible woman, you're going to find out, a giver. She's incredibly talented. And one of her strongest gifts that I've learned, other than finding joy when it tries to run away, is she's an incredible communicator. And she has this passionate gift of getting passionate people noticed. Marisa is an incredible PR professional and expert at getting us noticed in the world we live in. Marisa, thank you for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here. And I'll tell you something, Scott. I just can't help but to smile so big to the point that my face hurts anytime I see you or I hear your voice, because you just radiate joy. You're so much fun to be around, and you're so much fun to work with.
Well, that's super beautiful. And please, isn't that wonderful? You know what we've learned in life? And don't you agree, Marisa, that people don't always remember everything said in a conversation enjoyed, but we often remember how we feel after the conversation was explored. And I think having the ability to leave a feeling behind is the gifts of those that can impression change. And Marisa, you are purely one of these people. You know, if I may, please, because everybody meets somebody somewhere. And here I was, we're doing a national television show. And I believe, Marisa, I don't remember we were on the Travel Channel or Bloomberg for the episode that we did. I reached out to Marisa, the associate producer, Erica on the team did, because we wanted to highlight the Southern California's president of one of the strongest brands being recognized for the episode was Coldwell Banker. And we wanted to meet with the leader, because leadership often sets the tonality for local markets. And I wanted to meet the leader because of the work they were doing. Well, you know, here's what I've learned. Great companies, great businesses often have a dedicated team that help them with media and help them with all forms of public relations. And for the first time on the episode, Marisa, we met you because you are Coldwell Banker's, at the time, their PR company, their PR firm that they hired to manage everything media for one of the biggest brands of real estate, anywhere real estate.
And we still are.
Exactly. I'm just talking about when I got to meet you in that window. And of course you are. Marisa, they're never letting you go. No, it's not. Of course you still are. And Anywhere Real Estate is the largest brand that is in the market. They own many Sotheby's, Coldwell Banker, Better Homes and Gardens, and now the Compass family. And there's so much opportunity to have great media coverage. So when I say we have an expert in public relations today, I mean at a very high level. And we were filtered before we were invited. And I think that life filtered allows a life lived differently. And I knew it was so very important for us because I don't ever remember growing up in class, in the classes I got chances to take, how they teach us how to do everything. And how do you get great coverage of your passion? And how do you get news outlets to pick up your story so that others find interest in your passions? And the secret is well, hire a professional PR person. Call Marisa. Call somebody that is able to get your message out. And so I just set the stage for that only because, as we know, none of this stuff gets scripted. Instead, it gets explored in conversations. And I know that this one is a super important one because dreamers that believe in the dreams and create the things they dreamed of, well, now what? And Marisa, literally, I met you and we got the chance to do the show together. It was amazing. And then because of that, Marisa, for those listening, I was invited to become a client of yours. And I got to work with you firsthand. And that's why I said to everybody listening, season 1 is, well, these are the favorite people that touched my life, that changed my trajectory. Marisa, you sure did mine. I've never been on U.S. News and World Report. Gosh, I was never really on any of the places. You found a lot of invitations, and I've learned it's earned media. It's not paid media. I've learned a lot of things through you, Marisa. Please, do you mind, for our listeners out there, PR, getting discovered on media, the outlets available? Marisa, what's the importance of it, and how do we do it?
Oh, Scott, it's so important. But now you have been on those media outlets, and we had so much fun getting you there. And
literally,
yes, it's so important because it gives you third-party credibility, right? I mean, you can buy an ad, and by buying that ad, people who see the ad, they know that you paid for it, right? You can say whatever you want about yourself, right? You can tell the media, I want this ad. This is when it needs to appear. This is where it needs to appear. And this is what it needs to say. You know, people see it and they think, okay, well, that's an ad. That's marketing. But if a story appears, like, for example, we were recently hired by a financial services firm. And this financial services firm initially hired us just to help with their branding because they were brand new, just opening, right? So they wanted us to just get them through the grand opening. But then they discovered everything that we could do. And we started learning their philosophy and everything that they were about. And we started bringing them opportunities, PR opportunities. And they started seeing what our social media manager could do and how talented she is. And they started saying, I want some of that. We got them placed in the Wall Street Journal. We got them placed in Kiplinger's. We got them placed in Yahoo Finance. We got them in Newsweek. And all of this before their grand opening, so that when they had their grand opening celebration, the attendees were able to see all of these top tier news media placements. The credibility was off the hook. They've gotten so many compliments on their marketing and branding, and their competitors are scratching their heads wondering, how in the world did they do this? But it's like you said, Scott, it's knowing that you need outside help because they're financial advisors. That's what they're qualified to do. We're qualified to do the social media marketing, the PR, right? That's what we're good at doing. And they are so brilliant to know that that's what they needed, and it's making a big difference.
Everybody, please, did you hear that? Did you hear what I heard? Marisa, please, you're such a giver. Marisa, that was one of the biggest tips for every entrepreneur launching something new. Please, Marisa, I just heard you say that this smart company hired you to set the stage of third-party validation so that when they had a grand opening, the market already accepted this as a valued brand, and they became a brand before they came a brand. And they used PR to get that branding done, but not paid media. It was earned media, and their stories were shared, and it was all validated. I've learned, Marisa, that life is about perception. And the perception is the person that we're in front of or is getting in front of us. And we just have a moment for that impression to be crafted. And it's their interpretation that's going to matter. And that's why I love what you share today about the power of a third party talking about how great you are and your great ideas are the ones we should all be getting our guidance through, because the perception is that news is worthy and news is somewhere we learn from. And if there's a valuable news story, then they filtered this for me. And this, I have the right to believe that this is the source where I could get information from. And that's where the perception of magic works, because you crafted a moment to be perceived. But if you don't do the work to get on Newsweek or Wall Street or anywhere else, there's no perception made available. Yeah. So the very first step is hire somebody. You know what I've learned? And I think a lot of us, like it's the chicken and egg. Do I wait till I earn enough income to hire a third-party professional so I can get the right one and then I can do it? And then they'll know how great I am. Or do we invest the money that's uncomfortably not available for that moment up front because the rewards are going to be bolder than the investment? But that can be scary and uncomfortable for an entrepreneur or a business owner because there are expenses in expanding new ideas. But what I've learned in life for those listening, and may I please, Marisa, and you're proof of a way to get there for dreamers, just believe. Just invest the uncomfortable dollars that aren't there. I've learned this, that need is a great way to be motivated. And I've just paid something I couldn't afford. The way I act the next moments after will probably be what the purpose of things that invite income that will allow me to pay back the uncomfortable moment. And I'll probably be motivated to do things I wouldn't normally get to do because now I'm over invested on my own successes. I've learned they don't all work, but what I've also learned is that when they do, they're rather spectacular.
I completely agree. And I'll tell you that my forte and my team's forte is PR. And yes. I was doing my own social media, very active on social media, but it's so time consuming. And, you know, I'm decent at it. But what I found was I would get inquiries from prospective clients via social media, right? Via my social media channels.
Yes. It's a great channel, everybody. CIM.
Yes, CIM Inc PR. So CIM Inc PR stands for Cornerstone Integrated Marketing. And I would get inquiries via my social media channels, but I was not as consistent at posting as I should be. And then I realized I need help with this so that I can be consistent and it will look better and I don't have to worry about it. And I can focus energy with the PR side of the business and the PR team on clients' PR, right? And so I got help on the social media side and that made a difference. But then I got even smarter. Then I hired a full-time PR team, social media manager, who came into my office, and she's made a world of difference. And you can see it. If you go through CIM Inc PR's channel, you can notice a marked difference, like from beginning to end, like probably 2 years ago when I got the consulting help with the social media channel. You'll notice about 2 years ago, it changed and that was better. But then you'll notice probably 2 weeks ago when the social media manager came on full time, radical difference. And it's such a difference and it's a great investment on our part, but she was already working for our clients, right, through CIM, making a huge difference for them. And when I was seeing the huge difference she was making for them, she was already working for us, but she wasn't doing CIM social media because I felt like I want her to do the client's social media, right? I want her to focus on the clients. I didn't have her doing our social media because I felt like I can just do our social media. It doesn't, you know how they say the cobbler's children has no shoes? So that was
Yes,
right.
the mechanic that never changes his own oil.
Exactly. And that's something as business owners and entrepreneurs, we have the worst
Yes, I
problem,
raise my hand to that. That's
right?
me.
I know that we can all relate to that. And so I saw a huge opportunity here. I had her focus now on CIM Inc PR as a client, right? She's full time with us, but now she also has to focus on CIM as a client, make us as important as our other clients.
See what happens when you pay for something and don't expect it for free and become a client? What happened, Marisa, when you became a client?
If you take a look at our channel and see the radical difference, even our clients commented on it, on what a difference. And just this morning before this podcast, I got a call from a prospective client. And that's what happens, y'all. You start getting a return on investment when you take a leap of faith. And to go for the name of this podcast, when you believe bolder, right? Things happen. What a difference.
What a difference. And Marisa, please, and everybody listening, the power of being published, the power of being recognized, the power of third party is so super powerful for strangers not to be strangers for long, for people to get to know who you are. Allow me, Marisa, I can't believe it. We're on page 1 of Google.
Yes.
For both Believe Boulder and for my business, for the podcast and for my mortgage company. And may I please, that's in Los Angeles, one of the most competitive cities that exist in our markets. Well, is this one. And getting on page 1 of Google organically is a place most of us would love to be. Marisa, I'm really clear on some of the ingredients that allow me to stay there, to get there, and to be recognized there. And I get a lot of business that converts to paid closings because of that placement. It's amazing, and it's consistent, and it's monthly. And so I wouldn't have been if I did not do the work. Marisa, I've learned that third-party backtracking, third-party validations, having you publish in these articles, everybody listening, please, it's how I'm on page 1 of Google. It's those backlinks mean everything. You need backlinks, but not from Mary and Joe and your cousin Bob. I mean, grab those. No, we want these from large U.S. News and World Report. We want it from Wall Street Journal. We want it from Yahoo News. We want it from Forbes. We want it be published in their product, that everything's digital. And when we do, we get back linked because we're named, our website, how to get found. Well, that cannot happen if we're just out there trying to do just a post on Instagram. And those are fun too. And social is everything because we're all tuned in. Yeah. But Marisa, please, that third party validation and that story you shared about your financial service company, it's really proof of kind of everything I said at the beginning. It's getting noticed and getting out there. Can I ask, Marisa, please, one of the questions I was going to ask is, when's the best time? But your story taught us the best time to say hi to you is when the dream is being designed. And this company was so smart to start their work first before even the grand opening, before they became publicly known, so that they weren't just, who are you? But wow, you chose to come here?
Yeah.
Life is about perspective, and how do you frame it if you don't frame it? And so, Marisa, please, can we talk about that a little bit, please? About framing and messaging and the importance. And Marisa, please, words are things. And not all of us spent time, like I think you're over 30 plus years and successful PR work. I mean, talk about expert level. You are the very, in my vision, the very top that's out there. I know because I've worked personally, and you're spectacular on a very high level. So your craft is so beautiful to share with all of us today. Marisa, please, can we talk just a little bit about words and things and how to communicate greatly, how to be heard?
Absolutely. I think the most important thing that you have to do if you're seeking a PR firm is make sure that they're as enthusiastic about you, your service, your business, your product as you are. Because if they're not, how are they going to communicate that to the news media, right? If I go to the news media or my team goes to the news media and they either write a news release or email the media or call the media and they say, I've got a story for you, but they're flat in their affect or they don't have the enthusiasm, then the media is not going to feel excited about that story, right? And so that's one of the criteria. So when a prospective client contacts us, they're interviewing us. But what they might not realize is we're interviewing them too, because and Scott, you know this because when we first met, right, when you were producing that show, I was screening you for my
100,000,000%, everybody. I was the one being interviewed. There's no question. Yes.
Right. Because I have to be very careful about how my clients spend their time. Right. I need to make sure that if my client, a powerful president or a CEO, is going to take their time for an interview, that it's going to be worth their while. And so when a prospective client is reaching out to us to have a PR firm, we have to make sure that not only is it going to be worth the client's investment, and how do we know it's going to be worth the client's investment? But we have to make sure that we're going to be excited about working with that client. Because if we're not excited about working with that client, then it's not going to communicate to the news media. It's not going to translate so that the news media will get excited about it and want to cover it, right? That makes a big difference. So Scott, when you and I started working together, with you becoming a client of CIM, we were so excited because we just love mortgage banking. And there's so many opportunities, so many times when we were working with the news media, whether it was financial services or real estate, and they would come up to us and say, do you know a mortgage banker? We're working on a story. And we would say, no, we don't have a source that we can point you to. But then it was, we've got Scott. We want to get him, we want to point you to Scott so that he can be your source for the story. And we had so many opportunities that we could bring to you.
Yes. It was amazing. And it happened. And it was, I didn't use the word overwhelming. Why? Because there was so many wonderful invitations. And this is what I've learned. And Marisa, please, I didn't hear you say it directly, but indirectly, allow me to fill in a couple of my interpretations in the blanks of what I've just heard. May I please?
Sure.
I've learned that PR works based on the relationships that your PR company has built over their career years. We all start somewhere, but something happens faster when you work with a well-respected, seasoned. And seasoned just is a fancy word for somebody who's stayed in their passion for years and everybody loves and wants to work with them. Because what I've discovered working with you, Marisa, and you've just said it without saying it directly, is that it's the relationships that allow the news networks to have any interest in even speaking to you, to hear about a story that you want to pitch to them. It's really hard to get invited into the front door because, remember, everybody, it's earned media. When we get published in these articles, there's no payment exchange. There's no dollar exchange. It's because they believe you're the best resource because of the work they're going to do. They do investigations and they rely on the PR. So if you, and Marisa, correct me, may I please? I'm telling you, I heard things in between the sentences. I also heard this. Trying to go out there and do it ourselves, because we can all go to YouTube, right? I mean, YouTube will teach you everything. And so will Chat GPT, and it'll even write up a cute little letter and do all of the instructions. And then you do the work and then nothing.
Right.
Why? Because it's still a human that we have to be interviewed through. And it's a human to human relationship that invites more. Because remember, PR's goal and part of the work, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marisa, is to get your passions out there and recognized from the public market. And so that means I have to stimulate. I have to interrupt. If I'm a PR professional, I've got to interrupt somebody's moment and get them interested in why I'm interrupting them so they take on the story I'm presenting. And that does not happen just because somebody says they're in PR. It happens, and most of the listeners are listening to us, but those lucky ones that are watching us, behind you are just some of Marisa's recognitions and awards. This is the highest of talent, and it matters. Because then you don't get invited to the top tier. You're going to be in B networks every day and C and Ds. And life happens a little bit better when you get on the A channel. And so I just trying to fill in lines that I heard. I just want listeners to know, if we are seeking, and we sure should, anybody in the professional services industry. I happen to be in mortgages, and Marisa, as you're sharing with me, it was a great, because a lot of the work you get to specialize in is in real estate services as one of your specialties, representing the biggest brand that exists. And well, mortgages live over there. and a lot of others of us live out there. For those who are lucky to be tuned in right now, this is your invitation, and I mean it. And I really mean it. Reach out to Marisa, specifically her, not just anybody. She's in Texas. I'm in California. She flew right on out. We met right here at my house. She hand-toured me around my own house, and she helped me to set up the best placement to have camera work activity. She consistently educated, mentored me to be positioned for different interviews. Marisa would be with me during every interview. You were never left alone. And do you know what I discovered in these journalist interviews? Look at, I'm getting goosebumps. Well, here's what I've learned. Marisa, you did say it. You interview the person before they're ever even invited to be a client, just as we're interviewing somebody to represent us. And it matters because we need passionate people to give interest to the journalist, and a great communicator. And it's hard when you've never done it before. But I've learned through you, Marisa, it did not feel hard. You did a role play with me ahead of time. You gave me ideas of some of the questions that would be asked. And I had a level of confidence that when I was connected with the reporter, with you with me, I was in my comfort zone, and all of the questions lived in my passion. So I already knew the answers, and I already knew, because what I've learned, Marisa, working through you, is that these reporters are working on stories often, and the stories have a question that feed their story. And if you're the resource of the answer to the question that feeds the story, you're going to get invited. But just because you were interviewed does not mean you were accepted.
Exactly.
And that's why it's so wickedly valuable to have a high level of mentorship along with the invitation of it all. And so I just love you for so many reasons, Marisa, and I mean that. And you invited me to get comfortable with that first moment of uncomfortable, and I got so many more invitations after, been published in so many resources. But it was all, and I'm very well aware, Marisa, I don't believe those invitations would have been mine so quickly. What my opportunity was in meeting you and then being invited in your world, is that you invited your relationships to be available for me quickly, that I could not have unlocked on my own. And those listening to us, that's kind of the gift that happens when you pay for a service. What we're paying for is their time, their expertise to advance us faster. we could do it on our own, but boy, how much time does that take? And does it really work? And how are you feeling today? Did you sleep well last night? You know, when you hire and you do things with somebody else, you get like a coach in life. And I think that no matter what we're doing, we should constantly be marketing our passions. Because as we close that last client, that whatever it is we're doing, and we've closed that transaction, well, aren't we hoping for a next one? So by having consistent PR, we're constantly inviting the invitation for the next one so that we can continue to grow. And I don't know how to do it without a great PR. And there's very different versions of PR. And what I love about you, Marisa, is that your passion stems beyond print only. It lives in digital spaces. It's really everywhere. Even when life falls apart, my Marisa, please, can we take 2 seconds on that, Marisa? What happens? What does one do? Let's say somebody's been accused of a bad boo-boo.
Okay. Wait, I want to tell you about that. And
please, can we?
Yes. And I want to backtrack for a minute because you brought up Chat GPT. So
yes,
all out there listening and watching this, if you're using Chat GPT for your PR, Chat GPT is great at PR. Like Chat GPT will write you a great news release. It'll write you a great pitch letter. It'll tell you who to contact in the news media. And you'll think, wow, I don't even need a PR person. I can do this on my own. And you'll send it to the news media, and the first thing they're going to do is hit delete. And why will they do that? Because of copyright infringement. Because what they do is they have a Chat GPT checker, and anything you send them, they'll run it through the checker. And if it even sounds like Chat GPT or looks like Chat GPT, because there are certain tells, and they can see them immediately. Like we as a PR firm can see things immediately because like sometimes a client will send us something and they'll say, I want a news release like this. And they'll send it to us. And as a team, we'll send notes back and forth to each other and we'll say, that is so Chat GPT. And I don't know if you could see me just now rolling my eyes, but, and so
we see it too, by the way, Marisa, with the questions, you can tell you're like a consumer wouldn't ask and shape it. That doesn't look right.
Right. Exactly. It doesn't look right. And so the media can see that. They'll delete it immediately. They won't use it.
I bet you get on their spam list, in fact.
Well, yeah, you get on their spam list and you just don't want to do that. And so that's something that's really important. And then back to what Scott was saying about the relationships. Those relationships, it is time consuming, but what happens is we're constantly like we have like a very large team in Houston. We have somebody in San Diego. We have somebody in Austin, Texas. I'm in Houston, Texas. I used to be in Southern California for 35 years. So I know that market inside and out. It's home to me. And so what we do is we're constantly on the phone with our reporter friends. We think of them, they're friends to us. They're not really colleagues, although they are colleagues, but we're on the phone with them constantly, talking to them and asking them, what are you working on? What can we help you with? And even if when we're on the phone with them, when we're asking them what they're working on, we're helping them to brainstorm trend stories and different ideas. And we're offering them sources, even if those sources aren't our clients, because we want them to see us as helpful to them so that when something fits our clients are invited to be thought leaders in their stories, right? So we always want to be the go-to to them. We always want them to think of us as helpful to them. What happens is sometimes clients might get impatient and think, it's always, what have you done for me lately? And that's completely understandable, right? But the opportunities and the whales that we catch for our clients can be huge.
Huge.
A Rob Report story, a Wall Street Journal trend story. These are massive. And they're massive because of these top tier relationships that we've built, but they take time and they have really big results. The other thing I want to say before we get on to the crisis PR part of this is that when we're working on these, And when we get them, and we're very consistent at getting these.
Oh, yes.
What does the client do with them once they get these hits? It's so important. And I'm going to use a financial services client as an example, because this is a very savvy client. And I'm going to give them a shout out just because I want you to check out their website so you can see what they've done with this. They're called Serae Wealth. It's SERAE Wealth.com. What they've done is they've taken the PR earned media that we've gotten for them, and they have it featured on their homepage, like as seen in Wall Street Journal, Kiplinger's, Newsweek, etc. So that's on their homepage, which is very important. And then they have their news hits on their news page, which they call Insights. And so when you click on Insights on their website, you can see all of their news coverage is there. So every time we get them PR coverage, their marketing director, Bethany, is on it immediately. She posts it on their website, and it's right there with the publication's masthead, and it's right there and it links. And the power of linking it on the website is that improves SEO even more. And Scott, you and I, when we were working together, we had a conversation about SEO. We
100%.
talked about how if you're getting this media coverage, fantastic. But if you're not going to repurpose it, repurposing it is so important by tagging it back onto your website, repurposing it on your social media. So McKaylee, who is our social media manager, does an amazing job of creating a social media post focusing on that earned media placement, taking it somehow and letting the world know that this was featured in a top tier publication, so that not only
So
is
valuable,
right, so that it's appearing on the website, it appears in Wall Street Journal, it appears on the website, it appears in social media. So think about that third party validation, third party endorsement, right? So it's not just appearing one time, it's appearing all over the place. And think about the SEO boost.
Marisa, what I love about what you said, and I think all of us do it, is that we want to validate our choices. And if we're going to work with a financial advisor, that's called trust. And the trust is I'm going to give my dollars away for somebody to manage them for me because I didn't take the class that they did. And they're going to make my dollar become $3. So here you go. But who are you? So when you go online and you're able to have all of those high level trusted media brands capturing news stories with you in there, and that you, the consumer, on your own personal research are going through looking at it, well, then we're getting the stage set for us because as we're reading, we're believing. Why? Because the media told us we had the right to, but I wouldn't be able to do that if that work wasn't really done and there was never a real story. And what good is a real story if it's not attached for somebody to see that you did it? And by having it multi-purpose, I'm seeing it consistently. So it expands. It takes one story and gives it a life that goes on even bigger. Why? Because that same story you did is going to be valuable for the reader's perception next month as well. And the more that you have on your website under a news feed, it consistently shows that you are the America's leader, the nation's leader on finance authority. Why? Because these brands interviewed you and you're published. And so that's what I heard, Marisa. So please, let's go on to, because life is not fabulous every minute inside of it. And remember, we know not every idea that we played with is going to work, good or bad. There is bad out there that didn't work. And sometimes we become spoiled. Isn't it amazing? Dang, it like takes forever to, or shorter than forever, but forever to get recognized as a trusted brand. All that work and effort can take a long time to build. And once you own it, it's like foundational. But it can be overnight that is damaged and ruined. But it doesn't have to be. Why? Because words are things. And when things get scary, Marisa, please, what do you do with scary things?
Well, depending on what it is, you call your attorney and you call your PR firm. And if you don't have a PR firm, you hire one quickly.
Why, Marisa? Why? Why? What do we need to do, my Marisa? What's happening? What do we need to get in front of or behind?
The narrative. Because if you don't get in front of it, the news media gets a hold of it and they write the narrative for you. And so there's nothing that the truth can bring out that can ever be worse than a lie getting out there and having legs of its own. So it's
As its perception.
It is. It is. So it's better to tell your own story and do it through a PR firm who can help you with your messaging and can help you to control your narrative. And we've had many situations. In fact, when I mentioned that I got a call right before this podcast from a prospective client, and I had asked her, I always ask, like, how did you find us, et cetera. She called and she was crying on the phone. And it was a crisis situation. And we get those from time to time. So somebody finds themselves in trouble, they need help. And it's always confidential. So we can't talk about what the situation is, but just in vague terms, and I'm not going to talk about this one, but in vague terms, like in previous situations, we might have a situation where a client will hire us because there is something that has happened that is not the client's fault. And erroneous information is out there. The media grabs it and the client is freaked out and the client doesn't know what to do. 24 hours will go by and then the client thinks, this is a runaway train. I need to do something about it. Wait, I think I'll hire a PR firm. They hire us. We come in. We gather all the facts. We first make sure, have you hired an attorney? We work with the attorney. We gather all the facts. We contact the news media with the key messaging. We get the facts straight. We correct the facts. But understand now with online media, the media posts their stories online. They post them all over their social channels. Things get very ugly, right? So especially I think the worst is these Facebook stories that the news channels do. The national and the local news channels, they'll post a very ugly story. And it's not necessarily that they're doing it on purpose, but they're trying to write a story about the facts of a case, whether it's a legal case or whether, whatever it might be, damages to an individual or damages to a community. And they write the story. And the community that follows this news channel or this publication, they run into it and they want to be the first to comment. And some people have nothing better to do than to sit behind their computer screen and spew venom. And it gets very, very ugly. It can be extremely damaging to the reputation. A benefit of having a social media manager, a PR firm with social media management, also having a PR firm with the PR side of it. So working together, identifying what is libel, what is slander, and making a note and screen grabbing every single comment that violates the law and sending it to the newsrooms and saying, this needs to be removed from these channels because it can be removed.
That's awesome.
Right. Because just contacting the newsrooms, like we've had clients tell us, well, we told them to take it down and they won't. But if you have somebody who has studied mass media law, so I have my degree in journalism and in PR. And so I've studied mass media law. I know what qualifies as breaking the law. And so screen grabbing all of these, I had our social media manager screen grab each of the comments, sent them into the newsroom to their digital department and said, these violate the law. They need to be removed. And we got them removed. So
Wow.
the news media information correcting what was erroneously said about our client, please correct your stories, consistently stayed in touch with the media every single day. This is what needs to be corrected. Here's an update on what's happening. So that's how the crisis communications can work. It's the PR firm being the support and the spokesperson, helping with the key messaging, helping the client to not get overwhelmed and to not say something that they shouldn't say, but to make sure that the client is telling the truth, and not implying that the client is not going to tell the truth, but to work with the client for them to know, again, nothing that the truth brings out is ever going to be worse than telling a lie.
I love all of that. And what I love about it too, Marisa, is that sounds like when life is at its scary event window. And once again, if you're going to do beautiful with somebody, you might as well do ugly too. And don't do it alone. Find an expert. Why? Because Marisa, you're saying it. Everything that you say from that moment is going to shape somebody's interpretation, whether it is to further enhance a story that journalists grabbed onto and expanded against your better look, or to adopt the story and find a way to twist it back to a different perspective to show you back as the hero again. Why? Because life has texture. And it's what we do when texture shows up that's going to matter. And what I'm hearing is that not just like for the financial service company that made sure to work with you ahead of time. And I keep saying you on purpose, everybody. I hope you're hearing this. Nobody's equal the same. Everybody's passion lives differently. Marisa is wickedly passionate at great PR. And I say that it was smart for them to start with you first because it helped to build their launch at a very high level of perception. Same goes now. Start quickly. If the ugly shows up, get on the phone with your attorney if it needs attorney's representation and with your PR, because you have the chance. You know, I've learned in life, and Marisa, correct me, please. They say even bad stories is good media. And in my mind, and see, Marisa says that's not true, and I agree.
Something else I want to clarify: the financial services firm has not gotten into trouble, and they have not.
No, of course not. No, and I surely am not representing as such. Their only piece that came into this is they started with you very quickly once their idea and brand was being born. And I'm saying when something bad in life shows up in life, don't wait for later. The earlier you start working with somebody, the better chance you have of shaping it. Just as that company shaped their opening. They're not in trouble. They opened up a successful brand, but they started early.
Right.
So my point is to start whatever you're doing. The earlier you begin it, the sooner you begin to create your brand story.
But it's never too late.
It's never too late. Well, I love that. Never too late. Well, it's like real estate. The best day to buy real estate was yesterday. The next best day is today, and tomorrow's going to be okay, but it was really yesterday. Same thing. It's never too late. And I love that you said that, Marisa. Please, I really wanted to highlight that now because media goes out, and you said exactly how. Social, reels, it's instant, it's sniblets, it's a fraction of a portion of a story. But I've learned media loves to sensationalize. Otherwise, we're not looking at that media channel. And so good news doesn't travel well. It can be very boring. Bad news travels very quickly. So when things are framed to be sensationalized, they're framed to grab your attention. Media wants your attention. So they look for stories constantly that allow sensationalizations. And so, Marisa, I just love it because I've learned that in the texture of life, all the good things and the things that we're struggling is that there's a hero in every story. And it's finding the hero story in every moment that allows a moment to be so beautifully received. And I've learned that we're humans at the end of the day. And what I've loved to learn is that as a human being, we've all, I think, in life have been punished for doing something we know we should not have done, but we did it anyway. What, did I have the cookie you told me I couldn't have? Go stand in the corner. I mean it. And so the color of perfect does not exist. I've never seen the shade. And when we can relate human to human, we become humanized.
Yeah.
And people love to work with passionately humanized individuals that show up. And it's hard to show up if you don't have somebody setting a stage for you to do it through. I'm so grateful you joined us today, Marisa. This has been so incredible. It is everything that I really believe in life, and that is that we all walk around with our own different passions, and we're supposed to. But as we're walking around, wouldn't it be fun to have a whole bunch of friends that love what you're up to as well, inspiring you, becoming your clients, being your community? And hiring a great PR company earlier in your career is going to help you to get there sooner. But as Marisa says, it's never too late. But yesterday was probably better. Marisa, can I ask, as we close up this amazing visit, I wish it was, who said it only could be like this long? There's so much more in the world of PR. Marisa, please, for our listeners, can you give us 5 important key takeaways that we can employ in our passionate world right now as an individual that will help shape us to be recognized? What can we be doing to get our passionate selves out there? We have real estate salespeople listening to us. We have insurance salespeople. We have mortgage people. We have actors, actresses, so many different people. What can we do to win? What are 5 tips?
I think my number one tip for anybody in any industry, make sure you're on social media, because social media wins. That's number one. Number 2, get good at video. Video is king of the algorithm. And if you don't feel comfortable on video, practice. Practice, practice, practice. Do as many Zoom calls as you can. Get used to seeing yourself on video. Learn to love your voice. Learn to love watching yourself on video. It's so uncomfortable at first. Like when I first started shooting videos for my social media, I hated it. I just hated watching watching the video back. But then I got comfortable with it and it got so much easier. When you do videos, don't read a script. Don't prompter, don't read a script. We've all seen that. And I have a social media post that I did recently on this, is because we can see your eyeballs going back and forth and it's terrible. It just looks so cheesy. So don't do that. So I know I've spent a lot of time on the social media, the video and all that, but
Step 3's already.
Those are 3. And that's a free way to get yourself and your business and your product out there. And it's huge and it makes a difference. And you have to be super consistent. So I'd recommend that you follow my social media channel, because I give a lot of free PR and social media advice on that. So it's CIM Inc PR on Instagram. You can find me
everywhere
that way. That's the best way to do it.
All the links will be in the show too as well, everybody.
Right.
You'll have all of Marisa's content.
Another piece of advice is network. Network, network, network. So in today's day of being online all the time, right? We don't get out as much as we used to before the age of the internet and before social media. Get out to networking events as much as you possibly can. And I was once told a story of a super successful businessman who said one of his best deals happened because he was at his worst at this particular time in his life. And somebody invited him to a big event and he decided to go. He didn't want to go, but he decided to go. And he ended up being seated next to somebody who funded a deal for him, and it just changed the trajectory of his life, and it made him so much money, and he was so glad that he went. And I remembered that story because I got invited to a networking event that I didn't want to go to. And I ended up going. And Scott, you're going to love this because this was my realtor invited me to this event. He said, it's a client appreciation event. I want you to be there. And I thought, I don't want to go. But I remembered this story that I had heard. So I went to this event. And when I went, I met this woman and she was just very abrupt. And she said, who are you? And what do you do? And I told her, she said, give me your card. And she said, I hate my PR firm. I want to interview you. And so I gave her my card and she was in a hurry. The reason she was abrupt, she's very direct. She was in a hurry. She said, I have to leave. And because she was in real estate, you know how it is in real estate.
Oh, yes.
And so she got my card and she called me a few days later. I went in, I interviewed with her and she ended up hiring me. And that was to do PR for Prudential Realty that later they recruited me to launch Berkshire Hathaway Home Services and then later recruited me for Coldwell Banker. So that was a total trajectory change for me going to that meeting or a networking event that I never wanted to go to. So I would say definitely get out there and network at in-person events. Those can be life-changing, career-changing. You never know what's going to happen at those, right? So what I'm doing is I'm giving you, advice that you can use for free, right? Like if I had to give you real advice, hire a PR firm, hire a social media marketing firm.
Number five right here. Hire a professional. I was going to say that's number 5. Don't do it alone.
Well, don't do it alone. And remember that the money that you spend to market yourself, like y'all, seriously, you have to spend money to make money, right? You have to, if you want to play in the big leagues, you really have to make the investment for it because you can stay small. You can play small and stay small by trying to do it alone, right? By trying to patch things together and rig it yourself. But it's not going to get you where you want to go. And the irony of that is that I tried to do that myself with my social media because I thought, well, I'm good enough at it. But I thought, how stupid. Like I've got my social media manager doing social media for clients, but I don't have her doing it for us. That was like really stupid of me. But that's what I'm talking about. You have to spend money to make money. And what a difference it makes.
And we started that way too, didn't we? We started talking about putting the money in the machine that you didn't have and it was uncomfortable, but magic lived on the other side of self-investment. Marisa, what a gorgeous way to close out today's session together. This has been amazing. You're amazing. You know what I love about you so very much, Marisa? You really are that cobbler with those children with no shoes. You're so caring, so authentic. You're such a giver. I have become a different person through you. You've empowered me. I use a lot of what you've given me in the work that I do in my daily. You give so much. It's not that you just were hired. When you decided to say yes to being in partner, because you create a partner in business and communications, you sat down and made sure that I looked great. You made sure that my surrounding would always highlight me. You taught me the importance of the words to use and how we would shape them. Everything. Everybody, I'm so glad you stayed with us today. I'm so glad that we got to spend time. It was so important for me to get to you, the people that have truly impacted my personal world, that allow me to be on page 1 of Google, that allow me to get great business, that allowed me to get noticed to become a national television host, to allow me to do so many things in life. What I've done often was invest when I did not have the money budgeted to do it. I often would do it anyway. And I've learned that magic is on the other side of uncomfortable, and so is wealth development. And that's how we get there. You said it's playing with the big boys and girls in the leagues. And yes, that's where big money happens. So Marisa, thank you for being you. Thank you for constantly putting out that great content on social. Everybody, when she invited you to follow her I hope you did exactly that. Go there now. There's a link in the show notes. What you're going to get is Marisa on the regular, giving you super, 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 super valuable pieces of nuggets that are easy to absorb that will make a difference in your life. Marisa, you're incredible. Thank you for being you. Thank you for making this world a place for dreamers to show up and have a place to believe in the dreams that they self-create. You are a dreamer supporter, and you create stages for great people to be, well, out there sharing their greatness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marisa, you're amazing. I absolutely love you. Thank you. Everybody, thank you for joining us. You know, Marisa and I would love it if not only if you'd leave us a 5-star review so that the algorithm starts seeing us and sharing us with other people, but we'd love it if you share it with us. And I would love it that if you'd reach out and you have a great idea and you're not yet engaged with great PR, magic happens when you do. And consistency is that key. And just don't do life alone. And yes, you can. When? But when you believe.
You know what I would love? I would love for people to comment on this podcast if they learned anything from it, and what did they learn and what did they use. I would love to know that.
Oh, you're so right, Marisa. That's super valuable.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. See what I mean, everybody? Will never leave you left without something a little bit extra that's going to matter. And that's what happens when you don't do life alone. Find gorgeous people. And thank you for being part of our community. I'm glad you found us. I'm glad we found you. We'll see you next week.